WWE could reunite the League of Nations. Judgment Day is most certainly not fine. Seth Rollins' faction now just needs a name and a fourth man. Welcome to Allison Analysis. I'm Ben Allison, an autistic wrestling fan who quite frankly never shuts the hell up, and I've analysed last night's episode of Monday Night Raw and two of my 5 key findings. In at number 5, for the first time since 2016, WWE could reunite the League of Nations. As WWE now technically own AAA, they do have Alberto Del Rio, and if you add that to the fact they already have Sheamus, Wade Barrett, and Rusev, well, it technically is possible. So could they do a League of Nations reunion? Yes. Should they do a League of Nations reunion? Absolutely not. And will they do one? I don't think there's a chance in hell. I mean, WWE spoiled on a graphic last night the fact that Alberto Del Rio is going to be losing that AAA Mega Championship to Vikingo on an upcoming show. So, I mean, clearly they don't have any plans for him, other than potentially showing him where the door is. That being said, we are most certainly going to be seeing Rusev and Sheamus run it back and acknowledge their history based on what we saw last night on Raw where they had a face-off. And I'm excited for this, as honestly, so far Rusev's return, well, it's kind of been more lackluster than Tonga Loa's return, and again, that's saying something. But it's just been nothing, just putting him against jobbers. Well, now hopefully the tides are going to turn. In at number 4, Judgment Day is most certainly not fine. Liv walked in on Dom eating Roxanne's nuggets, Raquel lost Liv her Money in the Bank qualifying match, Dominic Mysterio accidentally cost Finn his Money in the Bank qualifying match. I mean, you couldn't have a worse day in the office if you tried. Now, like I said last week, this could go one of potentially 2 ways. The first one is that they once again reshuffle the Judgment Day. They get rid of some members and bring in some new ones in a similar way to what Bullet Club does in Japan. But the second way, and my personal choice, is at this point just breaking up the faction. I mean, I understand maybe originally the plan was for this to be a very, very long-term faction for years and years to come, like the Bullet Club, but quite frankly, this iteration of them has just been so bad and so pointless. Well, technically, there is actually a third way, and that third way is that they sign Gabe Kidd and make Judgment Day War Dogs. Imagine the IWC's reaction to that. In at number 3, so far this New Day heel run has been nothing of note. Man, my expectations for this New Day heel run were higher than Matt Riddle at RVD's house, but since that phenomenal heel turn, well, they've basically done nothing. It feels there was no real plan beyond the actual heel turn, and sure, they're the Raw Tag Team Champions now, but that doesn't mean much in a division which only has like 3 tag teams. I really don't understand why WWE have put like 90% of the tag teams on SmackDown and then booked that really well. Meanwhile, on Raw, well, there's just nothing really happening in the tag team division. I mean, a draft needs to happen for the sake of the tag team division, and it needs to happen as soon as possible. Also, the Creed brothers deserve a push, but that's a conversation we'll leave for another day. But before we do get into the top 2 key findings and then the thoughts which you guys have submitted to us, let me ask for one quick favor, and that one quick favor is you guys leaving a like and subscribe on this video. It does massively help us out. We have live daily streams every single day at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. Pacific Time, and that is 8 p.m. if you are in the UK. We talk about all the latest wrestling news, results, all of it, and there's always debates, there's always discussions, it's always a lot of fun. Plus, we do almost daily videos as well. In at number 2, I can't see a world in which Becky Lynch loses to Lyra at Money in the Bank. It is now official that at Money in the Bank, Becky Lynch will challenge Lyra Valkyria for that Women's Intercontinental Championship, and if Becky loses, she cannot challenge for that IC title again while Lyra is champion, but if Lyra loses, she has to lift the arm of Becky Lynch. Well, Lyra better get used to lifting arms, because to me it's a foregone conclusion that that's going to happen. But what I will say is this storyline has put to bed any of those Becky Hogan claims, because even if Lyra does lose this feud, she has been elevated so much during it. I mean, Becky didn't just come in and beat Lyra and move on. Lyra got a win first. She felt like a big deal. She had a really important storyline with Becky, and quite frankly, it's made her feel more important than she was before this storyline. But like I said before, I really do think Becky Lynch has to be the one to really elevate this IC title, to bring a sense of importance to it, and I think she's going to do that. And in at number 1, Seth Rollins' faction now just needs a name and a fourth man. I think everyone's on the same page that the name The Vision would fit this faction the best, but to me, they also do need a fourth member, and the reason for this is the fact they keep on going on about this being the future of WWE, and both Seth and Bronson Reed are approaching their 40s, so in my opinion, to really say you're the future when it comes to a faction, you need another young guy to stand alongside Braun Breaker. And no, it should not be Ethan Page like a lot of people are saying, because it can definitely not be a faction about the future when 3 members in it are closer to 40 than 30. So to me, the front runner is still Austin Theory. Yes, I know people are saying they want him to have a face run, and yes, a face run would make sense, but he could do that later. Him joining this faction would immediately make him feel like a big deal once again, and I do think he could add a little bit more character almost to this faction, a little bit of humor at times while still being important, kind of like a young Randy Orton in a way. The other options would be from NXT, and I guess that would be Obafemi, maybe Miles Bourne, or Javon Evans, but quite frankly, all 3 of those guys I do think need to stay in NXT for longer. There is a dark horse option here though, and that would be Dominic Mysterio. After all, he did help Seth Rollins win last night, well, inadvertently at least, but I can't see that happening. Dom is already in a faction, and I don't really think he needs this. But that's enough about my thoughts. Let's get into the thoughts which you guys have submitted to us via our Instagram stories. First up, we have got Venturo Halim, who says the highs were the 2 banger qualifying matches, plus Kyrie won. Yes, she did. First singles victory in WWE since 2020. And Karrion Kross got a huge pop as well, and the low point was Finn lost again. Yeah, I mean, Finn losing again is brutal. I mean, you can tell he's a Tottenham supporter. Jose99 says the highs were Money in the Bank's qualifying matches, the Tag Team Championships match, so Jose liked that one at least, and also he is hyped for the idea of Roxanne versus Liv with a custody over Dom too. They need to do a ladder match for him this time. Like, put him like on the top of a ladder in a shark cage or something and have the winner have to unlock the cage. That would be hilarious. And Jose says the low point was Penta winning was predictable. I mean, I would agree with that, but in this case, I don't think I'd say bad predictable. It's Joe Kalasi says the high point we're about to get a banger out of Rusev and Sheamus. I certainly hope so. I mean, we really need to have something to get fans behind Rusev, because right now, I mean, obviously, like, you know, everybody's a bit cold on him, I think. There's not been that many good reactions for him since his return, and to be fair, they've not really given much of a reason for us to care about him either. I think Joe Zumaya has sent in the high point was Penta qualifying for Money in the Bank, and the low point was no explanation as to why Bronson rejoined Seth Rollins. Now, I do agree on that point. That was a little bit of an issue. They were feuding 6 months ago, they were trying to kill each other 6 months ago, and now suddenly everything is completely fine. I do think that's an issue. I mean, the explanation wouldn't even really necessarily be that hard. You could easily make something up. It's professional wrestling at the end of the day, right? Fans will justify it, but you have to give some reason. And last but certainly not least, we got one from Desmond Pestana. Welcome to Wrestling Republic, Des. And he is saying it was a solid episode of Raw and he is excited for Money in the Bank, and the main event was a banger, but poor Finwood. But overall, this episode of Monday Night Raw really did just fly by. It went by really, really fast, and I did enjoy it, right? There was a couple of really good matches, those Money in the Bank qualifying matches, especially the main event, and also, it just did tell stories quite well, but at the same time, I would probably categorize this as a little bit of a filler episode. But for a filler episode, like I said, I enjoyed it, so you know what? I'll say I'll get a thumbs up off me. But as I always say, my opinion certainly is not gospel. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below, and feel free to argue with me, disagree with me. Let me know your thoughts, and I will be reading them all as always. Thank you guys, and I will see you in the next one. Have a fantastic Tuesday. Peace.